It cannot be overstated what an amazing year 2017 was for video games. In fact, it was a little overwhelming. It seems like for much of this year there were so many good games coming out that it was hard to keep up. What also makes narrowing a list of all the great games this year down to just 5 pretty much impossible was the variety of great titles. On one hand, you had games like Horizon Zero Dawn or Super Mario Odyssey that took tried and true methods like third-person action or third-person platforming and polished them to a gleaming shine. On the other hand, you had bold innovations like Nier Automata's narrative system or the mechanical brilliance of What Remains of Edith Finch. There's also a lot to consider when you're talking about the top games of a year. Do you champion the most innovative, the most fun, the most surprising? Do you try to identify what 5 years down the line will have affected the games industry in the biggest way? Me? I avoided those questions, to be completely honest. Instead, what you're going to find here are the games this year that have affected me the most personally. In some cases, that may mean that I'm avoiding obvious Game of the Year picks. Zelda Breath of the Wild and Persona 5 are both notably absent, despite being amazing, innovative, just remarkable games. But I hope you enjoy listening to my selections and listening to me talk about my favorite games this year. So with that, let's begin the countdown. Number 5, Battle Chef Brigade. Starting with the dark horse, I know. I purchased this game blind at the end of November, based purely on its lovely visuals and ludicrous premise. But I cannot begin to express how much gosh darn delight Battle Chef Brigade brought me. For those unfamiliar with the premise, this game is half Iron Chef and half Monster Hunter. The Kingdom of Victusia has a major monster problem, and its people have decided that the best way to deal with the monsters is to cook them, and serve them as 5-star delicacies. You fight things, you kill things, and you cook those things up for a panel of judges. Battle Chef Brigade has a lot going for it, from its gorgeous visuals to its quirky concept, but what brings it all together is heart. This game is delightfully written, cleverly paced, and it stars a truly vibrant cast of characters. And the story's about the power of friendship, and sometimes that's what you need. Number 4, Nier Automata. Nier Automata is the type of game that really gets under my skin. I've overanalyzed it, I've argued about it, I've written up a whole laundry list of critiques about its combat, its narrative, its attitude towards women, its ending. I have thought a lot about Nier Automata, and ultimately that's why it has to go on the list. Let me back up though. Nier Automata, the sequel to 2010's Nier, is a story framed by an endless conflict between androids and machines. You command 2 androids, Units 2B and 9S, as they push back against these alien robotic monstrosities and fight to save humanity. Except, of course, that's not really what Nier's about. Nier is an exploration of narrative design and presentation, an examination of just how much you can get away with in one single title. Nier Automata demonstrates the unique way video games can present a single story from many perspectives. And ultimately, it's a game about choice, and what to do when you run out of choices. Nier Automata just might be the cleverest game I have ever played. Number 3, Danganronpa V3. If Nier Automata is one of the cleverest games I've ever played, Danganronpa V3 may just be the angriest. It is a game built on its own self-loathing, a hissing, spitting mass of metatextual fury. The only thing it asks of the player is to be complicit in its own destruction. And in the end, a player's appreciation of this title comes down to whether or not they feel the same way as the game, or at least if they agree with the game's conclusion. Put in much less poetic terms, Danganronpa V3 is another game in the popular Danganronpa series. And much like the others, it asks the player to participate in a killing game, where 16 teens murder each other battle royale style in order to survive. As a player, your job is to figure out who done it, as a bold cast of colorful characters slowly dwindles over the course of several creative cases. This game is ballsy, offers some of the best mystery puzzle solving in the business, and goes some places by the end that you won't soon forget. Number 2, Horizon Zero Dawn. I loved Horizon Zero Dawn. I enjoyed every single minute of it. It's not a terribly innovative game. Unlike the rest of the list, there's nothing really new here. But what Horizon does is take an old formula and make it shine. Horizon Zero Dawn follows the story of Aloy, an outcast-turned-hero who has to seek answers from a forgotten past in order to save the future. Massive, feral, dinosaur-shaped machines have taken to attacking humans on sight, and the player as Aloy must explore ancient cities, negotiate with major political powers, and kick some robot butt in order to save the day. It's a fun game, and a satisfying one, and I cannot wait to replay it. Number 1, Detention. Detention isn't a fun game. Set in Taiwan in the 1960s, Detention is a horror game with a point to prove. Through eerie atmosphere, well-crafted horror, and absolutely delectable pacing, Detention utilizes game mechanics and tropes as a way to build empathy for a time period and worldview with which many players will have little connection. And that's amazing. Detention uses the language of gaming as a teaching tool, and the result is a genuinely scary, gorgeous romp that leaves you quiet and contemplative, and a little bit wiser in the end. Detention is the type of game that I would present in a class in order to demonstrate just what the format of video games can do. And I truly think that everyone interested in games and game development should experience it. And that's the list. The games that were released this year were wonderful, and it's been such a pleasure to experience these titles and to learn from them. But what about you all? What games have affected you the most this year? Let me know. And thank you so much for watching.